All right, so those are some of the remarks that the president made this morning in Pennsylvania. It's part of a new nationwide tour. Pennsylvania is one of several states with a Senate seat up for grabs in the next election. Clearly, the folks in Pennsylvania are very focused on the election, and Republican-turned-Democrat Arlen Specter is one of those who's up for re-election there. Now, one of his possible challengers joins me now. Republican Pat Toomey is a former congressman. He served 3 terms on Capitol Hill. Good to have you here today, sir. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So you heard what the president just said, and basically he was very encouraged this morning. He said the numbers are headed in the right direction. We're down to 10%, not a good number, he said, for unemployment, but at least the numbers are headed in the right direction now. What do you think about that?
Well, certainly very encouraging numbers this morning. I was pleasantly surprised, as so many people were, but let's be clear, I think it's a little early to celebrate. This is just 1 month of good data, and we still have 10% of the American workers out of work, too many Pennsylvanians without jobs, so we've got a long way to go.
Did you feel like he answered the questions today? There were a number of people who stood up and talked about small business and how it needs to receive more credit, and tax cuts really is what a lot of small business folks want. Is he responding to those questions in Pennsylvania?
Well, I think not so far, but I understand the president is here on a listening tour. Frankly, I'm glad he's here. I think it's terrific that he's here in the Lehigh Valley and he's here in Pennsylvania. And I hope this is a sign that he's going to really start to focus hard on getting this economy moving again. I have to say, I think that many of the steps that have been taken so far are not very constructive. Bailing out failing companies, massive spending, and huge unprecedented deficits and debt. That's not the way you work your way back to prosperity. I've argued that we ought to stop the bailouts, rescind the TARP money, cancel the stimulus spending that hasn't been committed yet, and use the savings to reduce our deficit and cut payroll taxes. That would encourage job growth.
Yeah, and those are very popular notions among conservatives across this country. And in terms of using the TARP money, one of the things that we're expecting to hear about as he continues this tour is that he's going to take some of that money and put it towards incentives for building green jobs and the green sort of industry in this country. Would you be in favor of that?
Well, we've got to be careful how much they decide that the government should spend money to subsidize inefficient energy sources. If we're all forced to pay more for energy than we're paying now, we'll have less resources available for everything else that we need. So I'm not sure we need a new government spending program or government subsidy program. I think what we need is a little fiscal discipline, getting our spending in order on a sustainable trajectory, which it's not now, and then let the free enterprise system and the private sector create the jobs that they can and will do if they have that freedom and they don't have some of these looming threats like big tax increases and a health care bill and cap and trade.
Before I'm about to talk to the man that you hope to run against, Senator Arlen Specter, just a moment from now, and I'm curious what you think about how things look in Pennsylvania, because there are a lot of folks in your position who look at 2010 and say, this is going to be my moment if the economy continues to look like it looks right now. What are you hearing from the people of Pennsylvania? How good do you think your chances are that they're going to want to see change? Arlen Specter has been in the Senate for many, many years, as you well know.
Yeah. Well, I think my chances are terrific. A lot of people voted for a change last year. This isn't exactly the change they had in mind. Senator Specter seems to change his mind every couple of days, whether it's the party he's affiliated with or his position on card check or health care or taxes, you name it. I think what we have is one party in complete control of the elected government in Washington, and we're seeing liberal excesses on this health care bill, excesses in terms of a cap and trade legislation that would be very damaging to Pennsylvania's economy, excessive spending. So I would bring some balance to that and represent some common sense fiscal conservatism.
All right, Pat Toomey, Republican from Pennsylvania. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me.